minimum.
V1.
Bank angle.
Good day everybody and welcome to another video tutorial about the Aerosoft CRJ for Microsoft Flight Simulator. In this video we will discuss the originating checks. The first officer is now doing the outside check and we, as pilots flying, will check and set up the systems for our flight to Munich. But before we start, we have to check how much fuel we have on board. You can see here we have a total fuel of 1,595 kilos. Our flight plan states we need 2,800 kilos, so we need a fuel truck. We will talk now with our ramp agent and ask him to call a fuel truck for us. In the meantime, we can go to our refuel defuel panel, power it on, and you can see the amount of fuel we have right now. Okay, we want 2,800 kilos. We just select it like this. Use the increase switch until you see the amount you would like to have. Well, that looks about right. And we put this switch here in on. It's in fuel automatic mode and we have to do nothing. As soon as the fuel truck is there, it will start refueling and we will have our 2,815 kilos. At the moment, this is a pre-production beta I'm using, so we have to open the shut-off valves ourselves to really get the fuel going. So I'll just do it now as a demonstration. You see that the amount of fuel is increasing and it will cut off automatically when we have 2,815 kilos. With the release version, you do not have to use these switches, then the auto mode will work like it should. Okay, let's start with the originating checks. We always use flows to do these checks, just to make sure we do not forget anything, and it will always be in the same order. First thing we'll check is the side panel here, and the co-pilot will check his side panel. Having done that, we go to the overhead panel and we check this row, the middle row, the outside row, and we'll check horizontally this one here. Then we go to the glare shield, we start with this button here and we go from left to right. Having done that, we'll check the side panel here, check the instrument panel, check the center panel, check the upper pedestal, check the thrust lever quadrant, and finally check the lower pedestal, first this row, then the middle row, and finally the right row. And having done that, we are finished with our originating checks. The first thing we'll check is the oxygen mask. Now before we check it, we have to see if we have enough oxygen as it is. 1,850 psi. We are flying only the both of us to Munich, so we need about a minimum of 1,400. If I see anything above 1,400, I know we have enough oxygen. Now we have to set some things up for the test. Normally you have a headset on, and if you talk into the microphone of the headset, you can communicate with ATC and on the interphone with each other, but we want to check if the microphone in the oxygen mask is also working. So we put this switch to mask, we put the speaker on, we'll put interphone on, and this switch, RT-IC, interphone, or talking with ATC, we put it in IC. Next we go to the left, and we have our oxygen mask. You can now press this test switch and we would see a cross here and here flow of oxygen. Yeah, it's working. We check again this one and we also want to see the flashing cross and we want to hear oxygen. Now if you do this test long enough, you will of course use oxygen. We've just saw that we had 1,850. At the moment we've just used 10 psi of oxygen just by doing this test. But that's okay. The oxygen mask is working, so we can put this switch back to the normal default position, the center position, and this back to boom. Now we can check the Skycam system, power it on. Yeah, seems to work. Lovely. Alright, normally the co-pilot, the first officer, will check his side panel and he will check if these two lights are off. If you see something like this, that's not good. The lights should be off. And we check that. Having done that, we can go to the overhead panel. Okay, what do we check here? We start with the electrical panel. DC surface power should be off, battery master on. We check that these IDG switches, integrated drive generators, are guarded and flushed. We check that we do not see any lights here like this. All generators should be in the auto position and these lights should also be off. We already did a fire detection test, so we can go down to the hydraulic shut-off valves, left side, right side. Again, we want to see they are guarded, flushed and no lights. The external lights, we already did that. Navigation, that's okay for now. Going to the fuel panel. We'll check that the boost pumps are off. If I push it, you will see now it's on, but it should be off. And we do not want to see any lights here. All buttons should be flushed. If you see that, just push it. If you see something like that, just push it. We don't want to see any lights. The bleed air panel. Wing anti-ice cross bleed should be at normal. The bleed valves in auto, the isolation valve in closed, and bleed source both engines. We already checked the APU and you can see it's running and is available. Now we check the left and right engine start and stop switches. They should be flushed and no lights. Everything okay. The ignition light, the continuous ignition light, should not be on. Now it's on. We do not want to see that. We can check though, if we put it on, if we also see something on the ICAS. And yes, if you look here, you can see continuous ignition. Switching it off again, and it's gone. Next thing to check, the hydraulics. I will go down here, select the hydraulic page once again, make it a bit bigger so everybody can see it a bit more clearly. And what we will do now is switch off the 3A pump and switch on the other pumps. And we want to see that all systems are pressurized. We'll go to auto on all the pumps, except for the 3 alpha. And we want to see that the power, the PSI, the pressure will go back to 0. This is just a check to see if the 1B, 3B and 2B pumps are working. They are working. Now we can put 3A back to on. There you go. And we see it's functioning and we have our pressure. Next to that, we go to the cabin pressurization panel. We will select it here, ECS. And now we can see on the page that we have a cabin altitude of 729 feet. That's normal because Paderborn is at that altitude. We have a delta P of 0, meaning there is no pressurization at the moment. What you can see is that the APU is on and it is supplying bleed air to the packs for our air conditioning. Okay, what we have to do is insert the landing elevation. This should be the same as our departure airport. And let's say we take 720. We have this button here, it says landing elevation. Just rotate it until you have 720 feet in this case. This takes a bit of time with the beta. We already asked Hans to speed it up a bit. So almost there. Okay, 720. This switch here should be in the middle position, guarded and flushed. The pressure controller, we don't want to see any light. If we push it, it's now in manual mode. We also see manual. We want to be in an automatic mode, so we press it again, and now we can see that pressure controller 1 is active. It could be that pressure control 1 has a problem, that would be in the check log, and in the technical log I mean, and it would be possible that we have to use controller number 2, then we just go to manual, press it again, and now we have number 2 who's doing the pressurization. The manual rate should be in full decrease, like this. Okay, next, the air conditioning panel. We check that the packs are on. At the moment, I have the left one off. You see here it's not green anymore, but they should be on. I'm a big fan of the recirculation fan, so I switch that on. These are the manual buttons to adjust the temperature yourself. If you click it, you have manual, and it also says manual here. Now I can change the temperature with these knobs here, but we leave it in auto. And if I want to change anything, at the moment we have 21 degrees selected, actual also 21. I can make it a bit warmer, 23 perhaps, selected 23, and in a little while you will also see 23 here. Conditioned air for the aft cargo I will leave in off for now, and that concludes the air conditioning panel. Next up, the anti-ice panel. Let's go back to the status page, and also the primary. We'll enlarge that one. Now we have both. So like this. And we're gonna do the ice detection test. We press this button and you see ADS heat test OK. Normally you would also see a ice message here or there. At the moment there's none there, but Hans will model that. Push it again and the test is OK. We want to switch our windshields to low. At the moment you can see that we have the right window heat, left window heat and windshield heats are in yellow. It's a caution message, they're not on. But if we switch them to low, look what happens. The messengers are gone. Alright, we are ready with this panel. Now we go to the lights here, everything in order. Landing lights we do not need yet. The taxi light also not. The ELT is armed. We can put the passenger signs, the no smoking sign already on. No smoking. And if we are finished with refueling, we now have almost 2,800 kilos. We can also put that on seatbelts. We can check if the emergency lights are working. Switch it up. Emergency lights on. It works. We also check the cabin if the lights are on, and we put them to arm. Okay, let's continue to the glare shield. We check if all lights are out here, and we want to do a stall test. We'll flip the cover here and push the stall test. You will now see the stick shaker and stick pusher. You will hear the motor of the stick pusher and shaker. We check that we have the ignition light on. We can also see that on the display here, and this means a successful test. We can push this button here, the EGPWS test, but I will spare you because it will take like 2 minutes and you may try it yourself if you have the product in your hands in a few, well, days or perhaps a week and a few days, who knows. With this panel we don't do anything yet, and this is basically the same as the left side. Now we go to our side panel here. Let's put this a bit down so we see it better. Again, we check the nose wheel steering off. We can change the lights, floor light, we don't need it. The wiper is in park, very good, and the stall protection pusher is in on. Next up, this panel here. If we push this button, you will see we have the VOR1 needle. We can also have an ADF1 needle, a FMS1 needle, or nothing. I like to have the VOR1 needle here for our departure. The second one for system 2 I do not need yet for this flight. Radar terrain, we do not have it at the moment. It's something Hans is working on, but at the moment it's not possible within the sim. If you look carefully, you do not see any tick marks here, and this means we will not see any TCAS traffic on our multifunction display. If we push this button here, you will see tick marks, and this is the indication that TCAS is selected for the multifunction display. We'll go to the next row, the speeds. We will do the speeds later, but I will now show you how it works. We have the V target speed selected. We have the V1, VR, V2, V target. If I want to change this number, it's defaulted at 90. I'll just push this button here, it pops up here, and I can turn the knob around and, well, 110, why not? Now I want to change the other speeds. I'll just have to put this knob in reference speeds. Push again. Oh, it's already there. V1, 90. Let's make 91. Push select and we get VR, 92. Push again, we have V2, 92, 93. This is just for training purposes. I'm showing you how it works. If we have correct speeds later on, we will enter them again. Alright, decision height and MDA. If we push this button, it will be here at the top and we can set it to whatever we want. At the moment we do not need it, so I will make it disappear again. This button here, you do not see it really good, but it's there. It's the radial altimeter test. If I push it, look at what happens to this here and what will be seen here. Radial altimeter test and 50 feet. That means all is well. So we are in Germany, so we use hectopascal instead of inches. Hectopascal, and we have 1015 at the moment. Okay, pushing this, you will go back to standard. Push for standard. Pushing it, 1013. Going back to 1015. Normal, that's good. Now we go to the cockpit voice recorder. Hold 5 seconds to test. We hold the button, and you really have to wait 5 seconds. And after 5 seconds, you will see a green light appear. There it is, meaning the cockpit voice recorder is working. Alright, now we do a general overlook here. We just see if the speed is at 40. The altitude is more or less the same as the altitude of the airport. And we check if we see any flags or other stuff we will not expect. The yaw damper, we did not engage that yet, so seeing this here is fully normal. Alright, we just do a quick check here. Is the time okay? Is this temperature something we will expect? I once saw a temperature of 120 degrees here, centigrade, and then you know, okay, something is not right with the computer, better call technical. Having done that, we go to the center display area. We just check it really fast, if everything is in order, all looks good, and we check here the standby instrument 40, and again set QNH 1015 and check that we have more or less the same values as left and right. Okay, having done that, we go to the upper pedestal part and we do an anti-skid check. It's in armed now. If I switch it on off, you will see anti-skid inbound outboard, inboard outboard. Switching it on again, all well. Main landing gear bay overheat. We flip the switch.
Gear bay overheat. Gear bay overheat.
You see main landing gear bay overheat as a red message, and you also hear the audio warning. This is test the test. We test the overheat test system, and we again see it in amber this time, and all is working like it should. Engine sync should be N1. Never push this one, and never ever push this one. Now we do a lamp test, put it in the up position, and we can have a look around if all the lights are on. Yeah, seem to work. Lovely. If you look here at your FCP, flight control computer, flight control panel, you will see that only the left side of the lights, the green lights, are on. This is normal. If you do the second test, you will see the right side of the lights will be on. This is not a bug, this is just like it is supposed to be. The lights, bright or dim. Bright is good for the moment. Ground proximity, we do not want to see any lights here. The cover should be there. And if you want to talk with the mechanic, we just push this switch. There's a horn in the nose wheel gear bay. It will make me, and the mechanic knows you want to talk to him. Alright, next thing to check. The thrust lever quadrant. We will check these, well, what do you call them? I would say handles are in and stowed. And after that, you'll check these spoilers if they are in auto. Now a little personal pet peeve of mine. We have to put the thrust reversers in armed. Normally, or you can do it like this. The left side armed, left reverser armed, and this right reverser armed. Somehow I cannot get used to seeing right reverser armed first and then after the left. I do not know what it is. I just cannot stand it. So when I select them, I always start with the right side and then the left one. And you see left ref, right ref. It's something personal, you don't have to do that, but yeah, I do it. We have another switch here. The metric altitude, at the moment we only have feet. If we put it in on, you can see it in meters, 3040 meters, and our actual altitude now 2030 meters instead of 780 feet. Almost there. What we now have to do is check the lower pedestal. First we will check the RTU, the radio tuning unit. We can select a COM1 frequency, a NAV1 frequency, the ADF1 or the TCAS, and we have a flight ID here or a transponder code. But let us look at the TCAS function. If we press this button next to TCAS, we go into the TCAS window. Now we have to press the test button, and if we press it like this, you will see a TCAS test going on both displays.
TCAS system test open.
Alright, a successful test. Having done that, we can go to the audio control panel and we just verify that this little switch is still in boom and this should be a norm. The weather radar panel, check if it is still off. And here we have to check that we see no lights. If we push one of these buttons, it's the RTU1 inhibit, we push it and you see RTU1 is not functioning anymore. Same for number 2. We want to see no lights and of course we want to see both RTUs working. The FMS tune inhibit should be in the up position. This is your transponder, it should be in standby. And this one here, it's a standby radio and navigation unit. We put it in standby. Now we go to the stop trim. First, let me once again enlarge this ICAS display. Let's put it to the right side and go back down. Alright. I'm gonna push channel 1 and channel 2. And now you see we have the spoilers, they stop in test. It's doing a self-test now and we are just waiting for it to finish. Usually it takes about 5 to 10 seconds. It's a fairly quick test, but we have to wait nevertheless. Alright, now it's finished with the test and we will disconnect the stop trim just to see if it is working. And yep, it's working, stop trim is there again. Once again, channel 1 on and channel 2 on. The test will still be there now, but we just checked if the stop disconnect is functioning. We can now engage the Mach trim. At the moment you still see the message Mach trim. If we push it, Mach trim is now on. These two switches, they should be in norm. The IRSs are enough. And now we have to check the aileron trim and the rudder trim. Here we can see the aileron trim and here the rudder trim. If it's green, this indication here, it means it's centered. We will go left wing down, LWD, and we'll just see if it's more or less going to the left wing down position. Yeah, it's working. Now we can go to right wing down because we want to go back to the middle position. We're just checking for free movement here. Okay. We do the same with the rudder trim. We go to nose left and we want to see the pointer go towards nose left. Yeah, seems to be working. We do the same thing for nose right and we want to go to the neutral position again. Alright, the trims are working. Lighting, whatever it takes. And next is the yaw damper. We just have to engage it. You see the yaw damper here. If we engage yaw damper channel 1, it will say yaw damper 2 in op because we have not switched it on. If we switch it on like this, you see no messages at all. We can test the disconnect button and there it is, yaw damper again. Now we press yaw damper 2. We see a 1 in op and 1. All messages gone. All is fine. Alright, these are the call buttons for the intercom. We want to check if the PA, the intercom for the cabin, is working. So we will select this selector here to PA. We will push this button, PA. It's a green light. And now we can use the push to talk button to talk with the passengers or with the flight attendants. And we verify that it works. It is working, so thank you so much. We'll switch it off again, like this. Chime call emergency. At the moment we do not need it. We check that we have norm on all these 4 positions. This is the audio control panel for the third person. We do not have a third person at the moment, but we nevertheless check if it is in norm and in boom, just in case. The RTU of the first officer, it's more or less the same as the captain side. Here you have COM1, COM1, NAV1. Here you have COM2, NAV2. If you want to have COM1 and NAV1 here, you just push this button here. The FO should check his own audio control panel. Again, he will check boom and norm. I will check if the weather radar is also off here. This is the head-up guidance system. We will use that for another time. Here we do not want to see any lights and the cover should be on. Gear extension should be in, should also be in. We can test here the ADG control just to see if it works. Yeah, a green light. And we want to check that the deploy emergency flap is also in the normal position. Okay. This concludes our originating checks and we can now continue with inputting our FMS. See you in the next video. Bye bye.